everyone, Merry Christmas, welcome back. My name is Stephanie and this is Lindy Stitches, where I talk about cross stitching. I'm recording this on my phone for the first time and I've made a few test videos. Did you hear that? My throat just like made a weird sound. I've made a few test videos and the only thing that's a little iffy is I think I sound a little foggy, but hopefully you'll appreciate better focus. That's the goal. We shall see. My family is kind of hanging out one wall over and chatting merrily to themselves. I hope that that is not a distraction, but such is the family life in a small home. Thank you to everyone who sent me a Christmas card. I got a good chunk of Christmas cards from stitchy friends all over the world, and it was fun. My husband would sometimes open one up and be so confused because he didn't know who the person was, and I just have to say, oh, that's just for me. Thank you. You're making me rethink my laziness about sending out Christmas cards. I haven't sent out Christmas cards in probably, I think 10 years ago I sent my last Christmas card. Perhaps next year I shall rejoin the Christmas card train. Because they're nice, they are nice to get. I don't know why I stopped. Busy and lazy, as Emma says. Busy and lazy. I have so much to show you. There's stuff everywhere, not only for this video, but because I've been... This looks like a really long dresser when I sit here, but this is a mirror. I just have stuff everywhere. I'm in the middle of doing more Nashville prep, which is more printing and packing, and I don't mind doing it, but it's just clutter that I'm in the midst of it. I can't put it away, and clutter just gives me anxiety. You don't care. Moving on. So in this video, I hope to show you first my projects that I have not completed that I'm bringing into 2019. I hope to show you the things that I've finished this year in 2018. I want to talk about books. We're going to talk about books toward the end, and I want to share with you some resolutions that I wish I could make and keep. But I won't. I'll explain it later. I think that's all the intro information I had to give you. Let's get started. I'm going to show you my whips, the things that I've been working on. The first thing I will show you is my new winter project. The Christmas bug bit me and I couldn't resist. I needed to stitch something Christmas. There is something about Christmas stitching that is not like anything you do the rest of the year, in my opinion. There's something cozy and festive about it that I don't feel about fall stitching or patriotic stitching. Are you kidding me? Patriotic stitching isn't cozy. Christmas stitching is cozy. I started Woodland Santa. My plan for him is just to do the top square, his portrait. I don't really want to do the Merry Christmas wood letters on the bottom. So this is just a leaflet that Dimensions did. The art is by Judith Ann Griffith. I wanted to do him on a fabric where his beard would pop. You can see his beard kind of doesn't pop on this oatmeal color. So I started him up on dark cobblestone Lugana. And that's as far as I got. I think he's going to look great. And I think that beard, that glorious beard, is going to pop. Alright. Someone just started taking a shower in that room over there. I can't control these things. So I'm excited about Santa. I think he's going to look great. This is a pretty easy project. Not a lot of color changes, just blocks of color. That vegetable basket's going to be fun. Look at that basket of vegetables. He's got cabbage and I think a turnip. I don't know what that is. It looks like a turnip. The toilet just flushed. I'm just going to have fun with this. I've said enough, moving along. Everything inside of me is like, restart the video, just restart the video. I'm not gonna do it. Alright, Autumn Cat Sampler, I will show you next. Looks like this. I am almost done with it. I hope to finish it this year. This is from Kooler Design Studio. The artwork is by Nancy Rossi. This was a ton of work, but I'm almost done. So this time I finished the apple tree on the top, the Orioles, and the corn. I wasn't looking forward to the corn. It's a bunch of color changes and back stitching, and it didn't look very much fun, but I eked it out. Now all I have to do is the best part, the cat and the pumpkins and some bee balm, and this will be a wrap. This whip I started last August, so it turned 1. It'll probably see 1.5, which for its size seems kind of pathetic, but I think it's just been a lot. It's intense. So I'll be glad to get a finish on that one. I like the size of it. I think framed it's going to be really cute because I just like the skinny shape. It'll hang on, you know, one of those walls where you're not really sure what you could put on. I had issues with this whip. I sat down to stitch with a big glass of water, something along this size, filled it up because I was dehydrated, and sat down to stitch. And since then I've done it 2 more times, so I must not have learned my lesson. But this was particularly bad because I knocked it over with my elbow and it directly spilled right into my floss box. I looked over and my floss bobbins were literally like floating. So I grabbed it, I got a towel, spread it out, and like threw all the floss on there and tried to like mush the water out, and they had to sit there for a few days drying, and I didn't see any bleeding. So go DMC. I've never had an issue with DMC. I know some people say the red can bleed, but I've never seen a red bleed. None of it bled. It all dried, and it seems fine now, but I need to only allow myself to sit down with something that has a lid on it. But lazy. Usually by the end of the day, dehydrated because I don't remember to drink. Anyway, that was my not interesting story about water. My next project, I love so much that I don't want to finish it, and I kind of feel that way about a few of my whips right now. Just no desire to finish them because I'm having so much fun. This is Bag Ladies, an old kit by Sunset, aka Dimensions. I don't really know what was going on with that brand, with the different names. I think I have another kit that's technically by Dimensions that is called Creative Accents. What was that all about? Anyway, Bag Ladies, this is so much fun. The bag, I mean, it looks like kind of a pesky project because it's 80% bags, right? But those are all half stitch, so they actually go pretty quickly. And of course there's no back stitching like on the bags, it's just around, and then, you know, the caps are back stitched. But I'm having so much fun with this. Here's where I am. It's so cute. I love it. The only back stitching I've done is around their eyes and their noses, just to see the expressions on their faces. I thought that would be fun. What can I say? It's so quirky and wonderful. I love it. And that's all I have to say about that. I did swap out this fabric. This is a Ada that I got in a giveaway. I'm kind of wishing I maybe would have stuck with the original fabric, but at the time I thought this was a better idea. I think I'm gonna, the only reason I say that is because I'm now gonna have to change these background colors on the top, which shouldn't be too difficult, but anyway. Bag ladies. My next project I was complaining about in my last video, that it's boring, I don't enjoy it, I wish I would have just come up with a color palette. I had many reasons why I wanted to whine about it. It is my Long Dog sampler piece. I put this into Google Translate so that I could call it its name in English, and I don't have to pretend like I know how to say this in French, because I don't. It actually means Noah's tree. So yes, this is a photocopy of the cover of the unicorn book that everyone wants a copy of. I have a legitimate copy of the pattern that a friend gifted to me out of their legitimate book. I have to say that. I take back everything I said about this piece being boring. And the reason is, late October, early November, I was having really hard life. I might go into this a little more later, but I was at a very low point, so stressed out, emotionally, mentally done. And this piece was exactly what I needed. I didn't have to think about it. I didn't have to make any choices. I just had to pick it up and stitch the squares. And it was very therapeutic, and I was very thankful to have it. And so I take back everything I said about it being boring, because I needed something boring. And here's where I am. This is hand-dyed fabrics by Stephanie in Abyss. It is showing up a little brighter, and I don't usually have to do this with my phone. My phone likes to enhance things, I guess. Anyway, you can look on my Instagram if you want to look at what the real color is, but this is a really pretty color. I'm doing it with DMC Ecru 2/2 on 32 count, and I love it. I love it, and there's nothing more to say. This project for me doesn't really count as a WIP, and what I mean by that is I just keep it for stitching in my car, and apparently stitching when I am really stressed out. Last thing I'm going to show you, last WIP, is a Chatelaine Mushroom and Fern. I don't think I should trust my feelings and reflections on any of my projects, because I know I was talking a couple videos ago about I had contemplating selling this, and now I'm just like, I cherish this project. I cherish it so much. I'm enjoying it so much. I thought about setting a goal of trying to finish it this year, only because it's going to turn 2 years old this June, and I just felt like, man, how I should just get this done. But honestly, I'm just enjoying it so much that I don't know that I want to finish it this year. I don't know. The moral of the story is, don't let me sell my projects. Forgive me, I got interrupted, so I stopped to have lunch. So since you saw it last, I've completed another one of these tree arches. And the caterpillar and the crazy red confetti snail. That takes me 50 minutes. I decided to start varying where my spiders end up. All 8 spiders are technically supposed to be sitting in the branches like those. But I decided to start dangling them and tucking them in different areas, as spiders do. I am regretting one decision I made with this, and that is the caterpillars. All 8 caterpillars are supposed to be the yellow and black. I figured out the name of them, and now it's not coming to me, but regardless, I was wanting to do them different colors, like real caterpillar, different caterpillar varieties. I should have started with these 2, was feeling lazy that day, and so I didn't. So I think now they all have to be yellow and black. I don't know. I'm messing with the symmetry, so anyway, I still have 2 tree arches and 3 corners to go. I'm really enjoying this, as I said before. It's fun. I like that it's not all symmetrical, and that there's different things in each of the corners. There is still a lot that is symmetrical. Those trees are all the same, and I have to stitch 8 of them. However, all the mushrooms are different. The black work right here is different on each side. The mushrooms in here are all different. So there's enough variety to keep me going and dealing with the symmetry. I have been looking and pondering what I would like to do for my next Chatelaine. If you haven't been to the new Chatelaine Gallery website, just Google that, Chatelaine Gallery. And it's a really neat thing to browse through and see different people's finished Chatelaines and different fabrics, and the close-up views for Chatelaines are what will steal you into the dark hole of kitting up these expensive projects. And you'll find lots of close-up views on that website. Anyway, as I was saying, just pondering maybe what I would like to do after Mushroom and Fern, and yes, I have a few that I'm thinking about as possible next Chatelaine starts. I like them to not be very symmetrical, but because most of them are mandalas, the nature of them is to be symmetrical all the way around. Some of them get up to like 8 repeats on the outer ring, and I can't do that. I have no desire to stitch the same thing 8 times in a row. I don't know. We'll see. It's fun. I think thinking about my next project is probably one of my favorite parts of this hobby. Those are all my current works in progress that I can show you. The next thing that we'd like to do, which I didn't mention at the beginning, we'd like to do, like, I'm using the royal we. Weird. I'm going to show you my quote-unquote pile of shame. I don't mean that term literally. I feel no shame about having these projects hanging in the closet. unviewed, unfinished. Somebody chastised me for calling it my pile of shame. I'm not serious, I'm not ashamed. But these are the projects that are hanging in a hanger in my closet at this point, unfinished. Coffin Buzz by Plum Street Samplers, freebie on her website. Looks really cute. I had intentions of giving this as a Christmas gift, and then at the last minute I had second thoughts, like, I don't know if the person I was intending this for would appreciate it. I don't know. So I just let it sit in the closet. My Song of Solomon ship sampler. I did take this to the framers once, and I wasn't seriously looking for a frame, but I was kind of throwing samples on here, and it's going to be kind of tricky to find a frame for my color choices. This thing's kind of crazy. It's kind of branching out in so many different directions that really nothing looked good. Nothing looked good that I put on it, so, and like I said, it wasn't totally serious. Maybe if I had kept digging, I would have found something I loved, but for now, this thing's in the closet. My Monster and Forest Grew by Rosewood Manor. And I love this, and I want to finish this. I was semi-serious about getting a frame for it at one point, but then I realized that I really don't have a good place to hang this. It's so big. Now I know, like I said, I live in a small house, and so wall space is a expensive real estate around here, and this is a really big piece. So maybe when the kids move out and I can have both of their bedrooms as craft room number 1 and craft room number 2. Last but not least, my Crewel piece, old family circle kit called something about poppies. Don't even remember. That's my quote-unquote pile of shame, which will be refolded and hung in the closet. Okay, without further ado, I would like to present to you my 2018 finishes. There's 15 of them. I don't know how really to do this. There's 15 of them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 of them I did not stitch myself. So quite a few of these are Lindy Stitches designs. Those are my designs. 7 of them were graciously stitched by my model stitchers, whom I love and appreciate, and without whom I would not be able to keep up the pace of my business, without a doubt. I'm going to go through the list. Unfortunately, I don't have a lot of these physically with me. I have a trunk show right now at House of Stitches in LaPorte, Indiana, and they have most of my models, and so I'll just throw a picture up. So this long list hopefully will not take us very long. Let's start with one of my most exciting finishes, the Winter Sampler by Kooler Design Studio. I have to go grab it off of the wall. Okay, are you ready for this? Because I found this frame for $15. Did I tell you how you should take your pile of shame into your framers because they have random stuff that just might be perfect? Ta-da! So if you don't know the history of this piece, one of my fellow stitchers, Nell at Little Yellow House Crafts, stitched the top of it, didn't back stitch it, didn't want to keep going, offered it to me. I gladly took it and finished her back stitching and finished the bottom half, and I love this. It looks incredible. So I found this frame in my framers. You know, a lot of time they just have so much leftover molding that sometimes they just throw frames together in various sizes, or for whatever reason the customer decided they didn't want it or whatever. They have random stuff, and this was the perfect size. If I had to choose from scratch, I'm not totally sure I would have picked the gold frame, but at that price point I was not going to be picky. I guess I could have painted it. I didn't think about that. But it looks very grand. I love the color of the mat I picked. It matches this medium green, which I think is 503. And I have talked many times about how much I love DMC 501, 502, and 503. They are some of my favorite colors. I adore those greens, and I am so enjoying this. Thank you so much, Nell, for this project. I would never have stitched it without your gracious donation, adoption. I love it, and it's going to hang in my house. Let's see, New Year's is in a couple days, so I can technically hang this all the way through the end of February. And if we're talking about Indiana, technically, if I had to wait for spring, it'd probably be the beginning of April. I just love this. Of course, I changed Santa to be Ethiopian. And I love it. I love it, I love it, I love it. That is probably my favorite FFO of the year. All right, the second thing that I want to show to you is also a Christmas project. It is called Merry Eve, and I stitched this and sent it off to a stitchy friend. I will insert the clip of my finish here. Are you ready to see the cutest thing that I have stitched this year? Quite possibly one of the cutest things I've ever stitched in my life. It is Merry Eve by Goodflora Stitchwort. You can find her on Etsy, and her patterns. I can't even take it. Are you ready? I modified the dog to look like my stitchy friend's dog, and it causes me physical pain to look at this. I want to eat it. So I modified the lab to look like a pit bull, and I can't even take it. I don't even know. That's what the back looks like. I finished it off with some lady dot pom-poms in the color Ogden Grass. I've used that color many times. It matches with the greens that I'm drawn to, which is like the 501 to 503 greens, and I need to order some more because I've used it on I think 3 things so far. I did just pick my own colors because I have, you know, a good collection of overdyed, so a lot of these are color and cotton. I can't even take this. So it says Mary, and then I didn't even see that this said Eve until I was stitching it, and I was like, what is this? Yeah. I don't even know. Like, the snowman's fingers, the looks on their faces, I can't even take it. I am going to stitch this again, and I don't normally want to do that or enjoy that, but I want to keep this so bad. Not only that, but I can think of 3 other people off the top of my head that I could easily stitch this for. This actually looks like my mom and dad's dog. The way I modified it, they have a dog that looks exactly like that. She's a pit bull, and I know 2 people with black labs. I mean, it's so cute. I don't even have a dog, and I want it, so there it is. I will link this pattern down below. Alright, in no particular order, here are the other things that I finished. I Love You More Than Yesterday, that is a Lindy Stitches pattern, and it looks like this. So I finished that one as a flat fold. The pattern is in my shop. Mr. and Mrs. Delicious. People. Mr. and Mrs. Delicious, I sat down and designed on a whim. I wanted to do turkeys. I love turkeys. I talked about turkey. Y'all have heard me talk about turkeys. You see in my turkey videos on Instagram. I don't need to say any more about my affinity for these birds. I just sat down and designed these lickety-split. Like, I was almost doing it for my own pleasure. A lot of my designing is for my own pleasure, let's be honest, but this couple of birds were so well received. You blew me out of the water with how much you loved Mr. and Mrs. Delicious, how often I saw them being stitched on Instagram. I'm glad that you love them as much as I do. They're adorable, and this is definitely not the last turkey pattern you will get from me. Not only because of how much you love them, but because of how much I love turkeys. So that's Mr. and Mrs. Delicious patterns in my shop. Casting a Spell by Fancy Blacket, I stitched early summertime and finished up for the fall. I love this. I am planning on definitely stitching more Fancy Blacket. This is by, I totally just did it. Where is it? It's Pineberry Lane. This is by Pineberry Lane, and you can buy the patterns directly from her as PDFs on her website. Love this. That is another random frame find that cost me $3 at my framer. Moving along, I stitched Casting a Spell by Blackbird Designs. Michelle at Farm Girl, I won a giveaway from her, and she gave to me the pattern and the box that she had finished. I finished that as a gift for a woman I love and gave it to her for her birthday, and the finished look like this. Seeds of Freedom. I don't remember when I finished this, but I definitely FFO'd it this year. This is a pattern by, I can't remember anything today. Seeds of Freedom. This is a pattern by Silver Creek Samplers. Silver Creek Samplings? Something like that. Totally happy with my finish on this one. I feel like there's just too much space, but for now, it will do. I did brighten the colors, make it more saturated than the original pattern, but happy to put that up around summertime. I don't really have a lot of summertime pieces, so I need to work on that, because summertime stitching is not cozy, so how can we make summertime stitching cozy? It's what we need to work on. I Forget the Rest, my Owl Pair by Lindy Stitches. The finish looks like this. I love doing that pattern. I think the image is sweet, the quote is sweet, and what else is there to say? That's been given as a anniversary gift, which I think is such a great idea. It's not a really labor-intensive stitch. You could get it done in a few weeks. Yeah. So thanks for your kindness on that one too. I love seeing not only my pieces stitched, but especially them gifted. I don't know, because I think that, I don't know, it's just extra special when you're making it for someone else. Birds to the boughs. Birds to the boughs looks like this. I don't know what to say. Birds to the boughs is one of my favorite things that I've designed, and you all loved it too, and that was so encouraging to me. All I can say is thank you. Thank you. Holy cow, and thank you. Without Birds to the Boughs, I don't think that I would be going to Nashville in January. That was such a push for me when I saw how many of you reacted well to that pattern and told me how much you liked it. Birds to the Boughs, the verse on it is in past tense, and I didn't put a lot of thought into that because the poem is just in past tense. As birds are fitted to the boughs, so was my love to me. That's what the poem says, so that's what I put on the sampler. It's sweet, it's wonderful. I'm trying not to get emotional, but it's been stitched as a remembrance piece by more than one person, by more than one woman who has lost her husband. And I wasn't thinking about that when I made it. But I think that is the highest compliment. That touches my heart more deeply than anything. The fact that you connected with my creation in such a meaningful way, and then that's therapy, to honor your loved one who is no longer with you in such a beautiful, creative way. Thank you. All I can say is thank you, and it seems such an insignificant reply. Words are so insufficient sometimes. So I hate to move on, but I have to move on. Count your many blessings. Grab it. Looks like this. This is one of my more recent releases. People loved this one. I didn't realize how many people connected to this hymn, Count Your Many Blessings, saying your grandma sang it. So many people said that. My grandma sang that song all the time. This is by Lindy Stitches as well. So that was a finish. Bloom Where You're Planted. That finish looks like this. That is by Lindy Stitches. I feel like I'm not giving great details about all these finishes. I'm not remembering everything that I need to say, so all the deets will be down below. Ride Forth Singing was another recent release. Looks like this. And I love it. It looks really nice in this room with the blue walls because it makes the blue in it pop. I love this project, and I stitched this one myself. I still remember, that was earlier on in the year. That's also Lindy Stitches. I stitched that one as well, and it looks like this. Are you tired of seeing my finishes yet? We are getting to the end of the list. Jane Austen on a Bad Hair Day, I stitched for a friend for her birthday, and that finished looked like that. This. That pattern is by the Sampler Girl. And then, last but not least, God Rest You Merry Gentlemen. This pattern is also by me. It can be found in the Punch Needle and Primitive Stitcher magazine, their Mega Christmas issue that just came out. I didn't know I'd be getting a physical copy, but I think Deb thinks of everything because she sent me one. I'm just going to show you the image of my pattern in the magazine. Okay, so I think one of the main reasons you should buy this magazine is because of the smell. If you're a bibliophile, does that also mean you have a paper smell preference? Because I definitely do, and that's the good stuff. I don't even know what it is, but it's, oh my goodness. Okay, here it is. God Rest You Merry Gentlemen by Lindy Stitches. There it be. It's so exciting. I feel privileged to be in this magazine. I've gotten questions about whether you can purchase it just from me. The contract with the magazine states that I will not sell the pattern until 1 year after it's been released in the magazine. So next Christmas, I'll have the pattern in my shop, but until then you can get your hands on one of these. It has a lot of great projects in it. So I mentioned before, 5 of those were not stitched by me. I would like to give grand props to Chris, to Ashley, to Lori, and to Jenny, and to Kelly for stitching for me. Thank you. I love you. Our next section, I know will not appeal to everyone, but a lot of us are readers, and I want to talk about books. I want to talk about books because I love books. And I read some great books, and I read some really bad books this year, and I'd like to talk about them. Okay, so books. I'm looking at my Goodreads account. This year, 2018, I read 32 books, which is kind of low for me. I usually try to hit 50, and I only made it to 32. However, I did read a couple really long books. Also, I spent a bunch of time rewatching Frasier with my husband. Our code for do you want to watch Frasier tonight was, tonight I have a psychiatrist's appointment. That meant we're watching Frasier tonight. Anywho, I read 32, and I want to talk a little bit about my favorites and a little bit about the books I read off the Great American Read List. This was a program put forth by PBS this year, and it's a list of 100 books that PBS chose. Some of them they chose right out of the trash. I'm like, ooh, let's put that on the list. So a few of them I will never read. However, I did get 12 read that I had not previously read off the list, and I'll just tell you which ones I added to my check marks. I read A Separate Piece by John Knowles, which was one of my favorite books this year. Hands down, it's wonderful. I read The Alchemist. I didn't like it. I thought it was pretty frou-frou. I read Along Came a Spider by James Patterson. It is what you think it is. It's a crime thriller. I had fun. It was fine. Not something I would normally pick up. I read And Then There Were None by Agatha Christie. I don't know how I've never read that book, but I hadn't, and I really enjoyed it. I read Bless Me Ultima. I don't know. That's what I have to say about that one. I don't know. I read Dune by Frank Herbert. Oh, yes, I read Dune. Dune is one of those books I never thought I would read. And the reason is kind of judgy. The kind of people who would ask me if I had read Dune are the kind of people who, the next question would be, have you ever played D&D? And they get this glint in their eye. Have you read Dune? No, I haven't read Dune. Like, I don't know. I don't know what that's about, but I'm not going to read it. Like I said, total judgment. Like super sci-fi. I'm not a super sci-fi person. So it was on the list. I thought, why not? You know, on the back of the book it said, the greatest science fiction masterpiece of our time. And of course, what did they do? They compared it to Lord of the Rings. Oh, no, you don't. I read it. It was like 750 pages. I somehow read it. I don't know. It wasn't my thing. I'll just say that. It wasn't my thing. I tried to read it. I tried to enjoy it. Now I've read Dune. Now I guess I have to play D&D. I have nothing against people who play D&D. I'm just saying, it's just not my thing. Alright. Moving along. Gone Girl. Started it, didn't finish it. I used to be one of these people, if I start a book, I'm going to finish that book. I don't care how bad it is. I've got a short life to live. I woke up to the realization that no one was going to hand me a trophy for finishing everything that I started. In fact, I'm just wasting my time. So, Gone Girl, didn't finish it. I'm sorry if it's your favorite book. Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. Stephen Fry read it to me, and it was incredible. Hilarious. The Joy Luck Club by Amy Tan was a very good book. I was glad that I read that. I tried to read Siddhartha. I tried. No. And then, last but not least, I finished War and Peace. Those are all my notes. Thank you to everyone who literature shamed me, peer pressured me into reading this. I thank you. I would give you a hug and a kiss on the cheek because this was incredible. Five stars. And look how big it is. It took me longer to read Dune than it took me to read War and Peace, which is close to 1,400 pages. I was so into this. This is like Jane Austen plus war. This was incredible. I had so much fun. Leo Tolstoy is funny and touching and endearing. He made me cry. He made me laugh. Read War and Peace. So overall, overall, my favorite books from the year were definitely War and Peace, A Separate Peace by John Knowles, a book of poetry called Sailing Alone Around the Room by Billy Collins. Really enjoyed that collection of poetry. And then another book that I am calling one of my favorites for the year, We Have Always Lived in the Castle by Shirley Jackson. It's a creepy gothic novel that I had so much fun with that it went into my favorites. So that's my book chat. I'm still sticking with this list, so for 2019, I have some interesting stuff that I am very interested. I have some interesting stuff that I'm interested to read on this list. One big one, I want your opinion. Have you read The Godfather? Is it good? Is it worth the read? Tell me down below. Atlas Shrugged. That's another one. I need a push. Are you going to give me the push, or are you going to tell me not to read it? I have read We the Living by Ayn Rand, and I really enjoyed it. But when I go and read reviews of Atlas Shrugged, a lot of people say it's very preachy. And it's very long. Isn't it? Isn't it long? Give me the push if it's worth reading. I'm looking forward to reading Lonesome Dove by Larry McMurdy. That's another behemoth that I've genuinely wanted to read for quite some time. Never got around to. What else? There's some good stuff on here that I think is going to be fun in the upcoming year. What have you read and loved this year? I would love to know. Tell me in the comments. I want to give you a few resolutions for 2019 that I wish I could make, but I won't. I have 2 lists called Someday Maybe lists, and I recommend that you do this. It's fun. You just keep a list of things that someday, maybe, you'd like to do. Someday, maybe, I'd like to have a chicken coop. I don't know. I don't want a chicken coop. Someday, maybe, I'd like to visit Venice. Well, a few years later, those lists, you can pull them out, and maybe you've done some of them. Maybe you've realized your ideas were really silly. One of my someday maybe lists had be homesteaders. Since then, I've realized my husband and I are not the homesteading type. This is similar. This is someday, maybe I'd like to do this, but I know I never will. I would like to switch from, here's number 1. I would like to switch from drinking coffee to drinking tea to drinking nothing in the morning. I have so many times tried to stop drinking coffee and start drinking tea. It's less caffeine. Supposedly it's healthier. You don't have to clean up the coffee pot. There's many reasons why I would love to be a tea drinker instead of a coffee drinker. I don't drink coffee a lot. I just drink that 1 cup in the morning, and I love it. And it tastes good. And just recently, I was like, I'm going to switch to tea. I want to switch to tea. I'd rather be a tea drinker. So I didn't make my coffee, and I made my tea. I don't like tea. I don't like it. I don't like how it tastes. And I've tried the flavors, and I've tried this and that, and I won't do it. And so I've accepted this. I'd love to be able to get up in the morning and just drink a glass of water. But I think I will die a coffee drinker. Resolution number 2, I would love to keep. I would love to make it and keep it, but I know I never will. I would like to never again eat at McDonald's. It's bad for you. It's bad for you. I've watched all the documentaries. right? I've watched the gross McDonald's documentaries. It's not food. I know it's not food. I know they put, like, meat flavoring in their fries. Guess what? I don't care. It tastes good. I don't eat at McDonald's every day. In fact, I probably only eat there once a month. But I wish I could never eat there again. Like, the rational side of my brain, I fully know that I should never eat McDonald's, and yet it tastes so good that I will probably die a McDonald's double cheeseburger, no onion, extra pickle eater. Number 3, resolution I would love to make and keep, but I know I never will. I would love to go 1 year and only read nonfiction. There's so much nonfiction I think I would love to read. I am interested in so many different things that I'd love to learn more about. But let's be honest, I'm just a fiction reader. And read maybe 8 nonfiction books a year, which is a small number when you think that's like a very small fraction of my reading. Nonfiction, quite honestly. Most of my reading I do at night before I go to sleep, and nonfiction puts me to sleep. I can't read it. I'd love to read nothing but nonfiction for a year. I will never do it. I would love to hear your, I know I never will, New Year's resolutions down below. I love New Year's. It's one of my favorite times of the year. There's something about coming off like the gluttony and the glorious laziness of the holidays and getting a new year presented to you. What do you want to do with it? It's wonderful. It makes my there's something about that formula that makes my normally pessimistic heart feel like an optimist. It's a wonderful feeling. I would love to be able to be an optimist. Actually, that was my New Year's resolution last year. Can a leopard change his spots? I'm just rambling. What are you doing here? Let's wrap this up. I will catch you in my next episode. Thank you so much for hanging out with me, especially for sitting through my personal ramblings and recollections. I really appreciate it. And all my stuff's down below. I will talk to you next time.